All right, I'm going to give you guys and gals a biohack to staying in shape and continuing to get leaner year round while still making potential muscle gains. So again, kind of just a cheat code to get into shape. So let's talk about this a little bit. All right, again, one of these things that I've been using, a lot of people have noted, they're like, man, Jason, you're starting to look like a bodybuilder, having gone from the whole powerlifting thing, a little bit of a power belly in the past and all that stuff, yet here you are trimming down at almost 50 years old and gaining muscle again. So here's one of the keys to doing this, and that's the fact that I eat tons of protein and I fast. I do all my training fasted, and this is something I've gradually worked into. But one of the things that I noticed is that when I went over to fully fasted training, for me, I started actually getting pretty good workouts as someone who likes to eat a lot. It takes your body a little while to adapt, by the way, right? It takes your body a little while to adapt. So I started doing the fasted training, doing my intermittent fasting. That helped a lot. Then I added in the fasted cardio. And I know other people who do this. And when I chat with some other people who do this, I know guys who get almost ready for bodybuilding shows and they're not even counting their calories at that point doing this, eating tons of food. And I want to be clear with this. I've continued to get leaner with this approach, eating large amounts of calories. Now, granted, I'm over 200 pounds. I'm like 207, 208, I think, the time this footage is all being done. All right, pretty much where I'm at. But that being said, I mean, I eat 3,500 plus calories a day. I don't go under 3,000 calories. I just don't do that. Right? And since it's all whole foods, I tend to get pretty dang full. So in other words, other than maybe when I go to eat breakfast, I start to get hungry, I don't get hungry. That's a game changer. Like when we're trying to lose body fat, that's a game changer. Of course, now I'm at the point where I've gone lower carb and higher healthy fats. But here's something I want people to think about with this. What do we know about protein overfeeding and ultra high protein? When you look at the data on it, it tends to make you lose body fat even when you try to force yourself to overeat protein. Okay? This is a biohack. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, well, people can't afford that. And that may be true for many people, but keeping in mind an enormous chunk of my audience is going to be middle class and higher in America. So again, that information might best apply to them. Okay, but it could also apply to other people still. But that doesn't change the fact that it works. Okay, and we need to keep that in mind. Like even if, like, let's say we made a video on Ozempic that it works and people say, well, I can't afford Ozempic. Well, that doesn't change the fact that it works, right? So back over to the point. Yes, it costs more to eat ultra high protein, but it is valuable for recomposition. I mean, to the point where when you look at some of the overfeeding data, what happened? They lose fat while force feeding protein and trying to bulk and eat in a calorie surplus. So what does that tell you? It tells you that alone may be enough for you to get leaner. And the thing to think about, we're talking about getting in shape and being in shape year round. If you can literally recomposition year round, you're going to be in shape. Okay? I want to be clear on that. If you never gain any body fat, and every few months you've lost a tiny amount of body fat while you're training and gaining muscle, you will eventually be in shape, almost irrespective of your starting point. Okay, same thing when we add the fasting in. One of the things I've noticed, everyone notes this, fasted cardio, fasted training makes them leaner. Everyone who does it notices this. And it seems almost like it's irrespective of calorie intake. Like even when you eat a lot, and I think a lot of it just simply has to do with the nutrient partitioning. And I'm aware that studies have looked at it and said, well, it doesn't burn more calories. But that's not the point either, is it? Because we have to remember, calories in, calories out is dynamic. Otherwise, recomposition wouldn't happen in the lab. Everyone has this idea when we're discussing calories in versus calories out. They have this idea that it's just a fuel tank, one big fuel tank. of one type of fuel in the whole body. And it's just simply the amount you put in versus you put out. That is a reductionist model that it's not actually accurate. What you have to think about is the whole energy turnover process at the cellular level. Every fat cell in your body grows and shrinks every day. Okay? That is the point. And that's been the point of when we talk about the fasting, and a lot of people will say, okay, but it won't matter. You might, in theory, lose more fat during that fasted window, but you're going to gain more fat during the feed window because of the higher calorie intake. And that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Except, what if you're eating foods that tend to promote fat loss and they don't cause fat gain? What happens when you're eating enormous amounts of protein in that window? See where we're going with this? That offsets some of it, because people forget that. They're like, so the same thing when we're doing really high proteins and it's replacing some of your carbohydrates, for example. What's happening there? It takes a lot of energy to do that. So people talk about the thermic effect of protein, or we talk about gluconeogenesis from protein. They're like, well, yeah, but that uses up some calories, but you're eating it from the, okay, stop. You do know that the calories expended to convert protein into glucose do not come from the protein, they come from your other stores in the body already. We understand this? So let's say converting a bunch of the protein that you eat through the day into glucose. Let's say you burn 200 calories a day doing it. It's not coming from the protein. It's coming from your other energy reserves. So do you see why I'm talking about these ultra high protein during a feed window while fasting? Because you're now still tapping further in. Instead of storing a bunch of body fat during that window, we're still using a little bit of it to convert that protein into glucose. We're still using some of it for the thermic effect of the protein. If we're using some fiber in there, we are using some of our energy reserves to get to these foods still. It changes what's happening with the fat storage patterns during the feed window. This is why things like the lean gain approach, guys like Burkham, were so successful in getting people just shredded. That forced protein overfeed during that fasted, the feed window after fasting. It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.